Hey traders, welcome back to another Sunday video where we prep for the week ahead and talk about trading setups, things that I am trading, like what's on your screen right now, and of course, some ideas, some possible trades that are coming down the pipeline for, at least for my personal opinion. Okay, so here's the thing. We have a massive winner on our hands with the S&P 500. You can see I am logged into my brokerage on TradingView right now. I'm up $9,100, and this is just on my S&P trade. I have other trades that are open as well. I'm long on the Russell, which had a 3% day. By the way, if you guys don't know the Russell is of course small cap stocks. It was up massively on Friday. The pretty much the whole stock market just rallied beautifully, and the indices, of course, jumped massively. Now, I want to be transparent about this as I try to be on my channel. I've caught the indices really early before this, trying to catch buys that were just really, they looked foolish in hindsight, obviously. But I can say finally we have caught it off of some risk-on sentiment that kind of came into the market with Jerome Powell's speech and the proper cooling numbers that we needed in the labor market to kind of back off the Fed. Now, just to show you that, I try and keep it real on my channel. Check this out. This is what you're seeing on my screen right now is my all-time brokerage performance, my trading account performance over the long term. This is my cumulative P&L here. And you can see recently it's been really rough, but on Friday and actually Wednesday through Friday, we just had a monster move that we were able to catch properly. And that's what you're seeing on the screen. So just wanted to add that transparency. It's not like I'm at the end of the day, this helps to gain back a ton of the losing streak that I have been in my own trading. So I just want to add some transparency. People can show winners, but it's important to also know, like, are you going, what were the losers, right? So I've had some losses along the way, but we have finally caught what seems to be a really big and really good winner here that I want to let run a little bit further if possible. Now, before we continue this video, I do also want to let you guys know that Black Friday is coming early this year. So we are currently doing 40% off the Edge Finder or the VIP group. If you're somebody who's been watching my channel for a while, I just wanted to make this announcement. We do it all month long so that people who need some time to arrange the funds that they have been meaning to use to purchase access to our software. As you know, as I talk about frequently on my channel, we are a small business out of Atlanta, Georgia, and we build software tools for traders. If you're newer to my channel, you might not know all about the Edge Finder and about the trade alert service that we offer, but in the link down below in the description, there's information and the promo code that's down there. If you use the code YTVIP, it'll be down below in the description. You'll get 40% off the Edge Finder. Do not miss this chance to pick it up for the best price of the entire year. If you're someone who watches my channel regularly, this is, like I said, this is your chance. Head over to our website, pick up our software. And like I said, we also have, you can look at our track record on our site. You can take a look at the signal service that we offer if that's something you're interested in. And again, it is all currently 40% off. Do not miss that sale. It is the biggest of the entire year. And I know also a lot of traders inside of our group caught this S&P trade. And I know a lot of you guys watch this video or watch my videos. So shout out to you guys. If you caught this S&P move, it was a great week for us. And it was finally the win that we really have been looking for and that we needed, right? I mean, the indices have just been getting crushed. And it's really nice if you take a look at the daily chart on the S&P 500. We've had this downward move and we finally start to get in a breakout here off of some risk on sentiment that came mostly, well, there's a couple things. Was some stuff that happened with the Treasury, but what I really liked was Jerome Powell's speech, which kind of gave us confidence that the Fed looks to be done. They look to be no longer the antagonist to risk on, meaning rate hikes and, dollar strength. And in fact, I've made this point about the dollar index. Let's move to the dollar index now. If you're somebody who watches the dollar index, which, on my channel, I watch constantly the dollar index. It's a very important chart. The dollar index fell out of bed on Friday. And I think that this could be the start of a difference in the dollar dominance story than we've had for the past several months. The dollar, this is a daily chart, guys. The dollar has just been in a screaming upward trend, and we recently have gone range bound. Now, if you watch the stream, we had a 6-hour stream on my channel with, by the way, there was like 8 to 10 different guests who came on. Many of my trading friends and my staff put on the whole show. It was a wonderful event. If you actually want to go back and watch that live stream, it is on my channel, and I highly recommend it. It was we had so many guests come on. But anyways, during that stream, one thing we kept talking about was the dollar index was trying on Wednesday to break out higher of this consolidation zone. But the second Jerome Powell kind of reiterated that, you know, they don't want to damage things too much and that they're seeing some progress, the dollar index lost so much of its steam to the point that when we broke out underneath this, I'm officially, in 1 week, I've gone from sort of dollar bullish, possibly looking for kind of this breakout retest move. I didn't have any longs open, to now we've come back into consolidation. So I said, okay, back to neutral, but boom, that looks bearish. Okay. When you get this breakout, when you get a ginormous red candle like this off of what is to be a serious, shift in what is perceived from the Federal Reserve, right? Which is, of course, what has driven this story up. You've had, in terms of, expectations, people have been very much thinking that the Fed was possibly going to rate hike one more time and that higher for longer was going to be the narrative. Well, we had a pretty soft sounding Fed. Now, from a perspective of where is this dollar index going, I think, like I said, we've broken out of this support zone. So we should probably go ahead and mark this as possible resistance. Now, you can start drawing your fibs here, and if we take a look at like the 4-hour chart, it's possible that we do see this price action pull back into this zone. And if it does, like I said, I think path of least resistance is actually down for the dollar. It is possible that we are seeing the bottom in things like treasuries as the yield came down tremendously. So a quick look at the yields. Let's take a look at the 2-year here, right? Here's the 2-year yield dropped precipitously. Then you take a look at the 10-year, also dropped. These are government bonds and the yield that they offer. So bonds, you take a look at TLT, seem to be potentially bottoming here. And if they do bottom, that changes a lot in the dollar story in terms of what is expected from the Federal Reserve, etc. So when we take a look at things like, for example, the Euro USD, I find it very, very intriguing to potentially start looking at upside for some of these currency pairs. Now, again, I also want to take a look at the institutional money and see what they did in the latest filing. So let's take a look at this together. So this is the Edge Finder, which, like I said, remember, Black Friday sale going on down below in the description, best price of the entire year. I'm going to keep reiterating that. So apologies to my regular viewers. Just a heads up, this month I will be letting people know because, again, I want people who want to pick up the software for the best price to get it at the best price. And I always dislike getting those messages like the end of the sale comes around and people are like, oh, I missed the great price. And I'm like, well, didn't you hear it? I mean, we mention it every video to give fair warning. Anyways, don't miss it. Like I said, link is below. And in terms of the smart money tracker, let's take a look at things because we had a really interesting report. Wow. I mean, look at real quick. So in terms of positioning, you've still got USD high. So this is, be a little bit cautious in terms of that side of things. But this is the net positioning, which is important. Don't get me wrong, guys. The positioning is important. But I'm holding myself from getting to the second chart. First of all, here's the update. Okay, you've got USD, US oil, gold. These things are kind of and silver, by the way, my beloved silver. You guys know I love silver secretly. But however, little side note, anybody trade silver? Actually, you know what? Whether you trade silver or not, here's your word of the day. If you guys drop this in the comment section, I will try to heart your comment. I love doing that. It's the secret word. It just shows me that you made it this far in the video, and I do appreciate your viewership. And it's a reminder for me to thank my audience each time. I do appreciate you guys being here. Say silver in the comment section. I'll try and heart your comment. But silver, gold, US oil, and USD. These are, in terms of positioning, institutional money is most long these things currently in terms of the non-commercials, and these are like your hedge funds and small banks. On the other side, you get the Japanese yen, you get the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, and the Swiss franc. Now, what's interesting is these are some of your risk-on currencies, and they're still very much hate it. The yen is a risk off currency, but I think there's something else at play there. The yen is very, very concerning right now. And some people even think that there's perhaps a currency crisis coming from Japan, which will be potentially scary for yen crosses. We'll perhaps talk about that in a moment. You still have US 30 down here. That's a little bit concerning considering I am so bullish indices. However, that S&P 500 still sitting kind of middle. Same with the NAS. Nikkei is looking really strong, by the way. And Euro looking strong. Now, this is net positioning. This changes very slowly, guys. But what's more interesting to me, and the Edgefinder scoring algorithm that Frank and I have designed, when we take a look at assets, we score very heavily based on this. Now, the score algorithm is completely automated, and I'll show you the outputs here in just a moment. But in terms of the latest change, let's take a look. The Australian dollar had a big jump in terms of week-to-week net change. Now, this is the week-to-week change, okay? In the latest filing, the Australian dollar had a ginormous jump in bullishness. So something's changing. So you can see the Australian dollar's way down on the list, but perhaps it's starting to climb more bullish. We'll keep going. The Japanese yen, a little bit of bullishness coming in. Gold, still bullish, very interesting. So gold, we'll get to gold. I know a lot of you guys want to see gold. We're going to talk about that. I might be looking for a possible breakout on this, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. NASDAQ. NASDAQ, very bullish. Love to see that. Canadian dollar, risk on asset. New Zealand dollar, risk on asset. Euro, probably oversold compared to the US dollar. And if you take a look at US dollar, we had a decrease. This is actually probably a good thing, considering if you're kind of considering my side of things where I'm saying, I might get dollar bearish pretty soon. I like to see this in the form of, institutional money kind of agreeing with that thesis. Keep looking on with me here, and you can see oil got a bid to the downside. Oil sold off this past week, and that doesn't look to be ending anytime soon, according to the COT data. Nikkei, silver, etc. Okay. So all things considered, how do we read this? Well, we got to factor it in. So what we do here with the Edgefinder, the way this algorithm works, is it takes into account, and by the way, like I said, I can't help but look at these two guys, these things I love to trade on the bullish side when I can find it. Got to take a closer look in just a moment at that. What we can see here is it takes into account all these different things: the interest rates, labor market statistics, inflation, economic numbers, trends, seasonal data, retail sentiment, the commitment of traders data that we just looked at. It looks at all of these things and it ranks and files all of them. And that's how it gives you a general bullish or bearish reading. Not just looking at head and shoulders patterns, not just looking at support and resistance. Yes, those things are useful. Yes, I like technical analysis. I use it every day to take my trades, enter and exit. But directional bias for me comes from the fundamentals and sentiment. It's very, very important stuff. And it's something core to my analysis is to look at the fundamentals as well as kind of where institutional money is positioned. So when we take a look at this and we say, okay, look at gold getting a bullish reading. Why is that? Well, the labor market is cooling. That's potentially bullish because maybe the interest rate situation is also cooling down. And if those two things, those two scores right there, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. Okay? You know that those things could potentially be dollar bearish and give gold a little bit of a relief bump. Now, not necessarily in the fear department, as you know, if you're a gold trader, gold trades oftentimes, not solely, but oftentimes, fear is a major player, right? It jumped big on geopolitics over in the Middle East. Now, the question is, and in my opinion, where we could see a continuation of price is any combination of geopolitics escalating again could break us out, no question. But at the same time, you also, so geopolitics, now gold traders, pay attention here, this is important, okay? Geopolitics is one side that could pop gold higher, right? Any escalation, any fears, any concerns in the world, and unfortunately in today's world, there's no shortage of this stuff right now. So that could be a pop for gold. But on the other side, the US dollar, it's potentially topping, in my opinion. Could it go higher and break out and completely nullify what I'm thinking? Sure. But I think likelihood is that the dollar might be time to come down a little bit. And if that dollar starts to roll over, guys, that downward pressure in the dollar could finally signal a breakout, a substantial continuation for gold that could help us get through these highs. So I actually really like gold on the long side this week, and a setup for me would probably be a clean break and continuation, and I'm looking for that high, okay? I'm looking for that all-time special number that we have come back to a couple times in the past. I mean, several times actually. We'll get a horizontal ray, and I'll zoom out and I'll show you this. Actually, let's do a horizontal. We need a horizontal line. Go here, and let's go to the daily. Look at that. See that? That is the all-time high for gold against the US dollar. Now, by the way, quick note. I don't know if gold traders know this. The gold market is already at all-time highs against many other currencies. You know, for example, I haven't looked at this, but let's look at like XAU AUD, gold against the Australian dollar. Look at this. Lo and behold, gold already hit an all-time high against the Australian dollar, right? So, you know, it just goes to show with all that dollar strength, I hope if you're following, let me know if this is making sense to you. But here's the thing, that dollar has been so strong compared to other currencies. If the dollar is going to give back, if it's going to cool off, gold seems likely to see that breakout. If the Fed is truly going to pause and rate cuts start becoming the conversation at the table, I think gold has a potential to go back and test that all-time high. So I like a breakout this week. If it happens, pullbacks, set up for continuation. That's a trade setup for me that is very real. I've got Edge Finder confirmation on that, right? Getting a bullish reading, +6. Trend is to the upside. Labor statistics last week were good for gold. Interest rate numbers, or interest rate, the yield curve basically is what we use on the Edge Finder for that. Yield curve, or not yield curve, the 2-year yield dropped. That could be a bullish thing for gold here. So again, I like gold to the upside, and that's a very real trade setup for me as we go into this week. The NASDAQ, am I going to participate? Well, I'm already participating by 2 different charts. I've got the Russell long and I've got the S&P long. The Russell, by the way, top performer of all the indices. Yes, the NASDAQ beat the S&P 500 this past week, but the Russell beat them both by a mile. And Russell, I actually have a position on. So let's see, you're not going to be able to see it because it's not on this. Well, I have options, and WeBull doesn't show options on TradingView, unfortunately. But regardless, here's the Russell, the IWM. You can see this past week, it just had a monster. Now, this is, of course, I've been in a very depressed area of the market, but it's jumped huge, right? It had a 7% rally. And if you bought the close of last week and held to the close of this week, that's actually a 7.6% gain in one single week. That's massive for an index. That's like gold's price action an entire year, right? So anyways, my point with this being, you know, if we go back to where we were with the NASDAQ, you know, if you say, look at NASDAQ, you say, okay, how do you join this move? In my opinion, the moves happened, right? We caught the breakout on S&P, right? But if you're somebody who's looking at the Qs and or NASDAQ, same thing, and you're saying, how do I get involved on this? How do I get in on this NASDAQ action? The problem is the move has happened. I think the pullback is at the very least not until you get a pullback down into this area, this 38.2. And is that going to happen? Maybe. It's probably due for a little bit of a pullback. But I think, you know, buyers are going to want to step in quick, in my opinion. Now, I'm a bull. So whenever you hear someone be very bullish or very bearish, just take it with a grain of salt. Because again, I already have a position. If I was not in a position in the S&P 500, for example, where would I be looking to join? Well, possibly this area here. And again, that's where I've got my stop trail just behind. So if I'm in on that area, I don't want to see it break much lower than that. But I do like overall, I think that the possibility of a continued push to the upside for the indices is likely going into the end of the year. Is that a guarantee that it's going to happen? No. But it's, I think probability-wise, it looks good. I've pointed to this many times, and if you were inside of the Discord, then you saw this already, but let me show you. So here's the trade notification that I sent out on the S&P 500 from the beginning. At the beginning of this month, November, I said, you know, I'm looking for the time. Bullish seasonality based on the month of November. Caught the weak pullback, went long, right? And here's the seasonality chart, right? So overall, really, really good, game plan on this, and we actually were able to execute. So I got the entry, and like I said at the beginning of this video, I am certainly not perfect with my trades. As I mentioned, I went through a drawdown. I'll show you that again. I still am going through a drawdown technically, right? So at one point we were up $153,000, gave back a substantial amount of those gains, right? So I'm not claiming to be perfect by any means, but this move was very much planned, and we caught this move beautifully. So my goal is to continue to hold on to this if possible. And here is, by the way, like I said, remember, don't forget that Black Friday sale, link down below in the description. Get access to the trade notifications, coaching webinars. You get Frankenized trades, all of our stuff there. You also get to join the chat rooms. And also, if you are already an Edgefinder user, I know some of my friends here who already have Edgefinder. If you have not picked up the Edgefinder Smart Alerts, the link will also be in the description for those as well. If you don't have them, you get access to the COT report notifications, the top setups alerts. So when the Edgefinder finds new setups, you get that notification. And of course, score flips, which something seemed to have flipped as well. So those are showing early signals that perhaps a new setup could be forming the Edgefinder very early on. So get access to all of it. Link is down below. And again, it is that best price of the year. So I will reiterate that and be annoying for a little bit for the month. So I apologize in advance, but I just want people to not miss out if they've been thinking about it. We get comments like that all the time, like, hey, I want access to you guys' software, but it's outside of my budget. This is your chance. Okay. So anyways, like I said, in terms of seasonality, take a look at the NASDAQ. So we're entering into what is historically a very strong period of the year. So I like this a lot. It's part of my thesis for bullishness. It's also showing up in our setups window here. Look at the NASDAQ, right? Seasonality. So when I show you guys something, the cool thing is that the Edgefinder then computes, calculates, and puts it into the scoring automatically. So my thought process on, oh, seasonally it looks good, the Edgefinder has already picked that out for you, put it into the algorithm, and it's showing up in the outputs. That's the utility of a software like this. It points you in the right direction to look at charts that could have some potential in them based on the fundamentals and sentiment. And then we go to the charts and we look for setups. So again, like I said, I think the move has probably happened so far, but the pullbacks that could be coming anytime in the end of this year, I'm going to be looking to basically buy any pullbacks that I can on the indices. Guys, I hope that's been helpful to you. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.